Hello, happy Monday, and welcome to Adobe Live. And I am very excited to be here today with Bruna Souza. And she is going to be, sharing some of her work with us to start off with. And we're going to be working in Illustrator, which is going to be really fun. So, hey, Bruna, how's it going?
Hey Liz, it's going great. How about you?
Yeah, good. It's a bit grey and rainy. It's very Monday-ish Monday, but apart from that, it's good. And hey to everyone joining us in the chat. If you are watching this on YouTube, then I would really encourage you to head over to Behance. You can go to b.net/Adobe Live and come and chat with us. Let's see who's there already. We've got Andreas, Tim, Annika. Hey, Annika, we've got Angus. So yeah, come and join us in the chat. And if you've got any questions for Bruna over the next hour, then feel free to ask away. So yeah, maybe Bruna, to start off with, you want to introduce yourself, tell us a bit about you and your work.
Yeah, definitely. I'm originally from Brazil, from São Paulo, but I actually moved to Amsterdam when I was quite young, so I grew up here. I studied fine arts at university in London, and then I went on to work as a graphic designer in my professional career. And now I work in kind of multidisciplinary design. So I like doing a bit of creative direction, actual graphic design, but also a bit more artistic or creative things from my education background. So I like to mix them and maybe do photography, video, have exhibitions and things like that. I like to keep it interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you. I like to try all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
Do you want to quickly show? I know you've got your Behance profile up. Maybe you can just
Yes.
show us a little bit of some examples of your work.
Yeah, definitely. So for example, this is a branding project that I did over the last year. This was for a music newsletter subscription. So yeah, I often work with branding clients, create an entire brand identity, um, choosing typography, colors,
Nice.
logos. Yeah.
Amazing. I love the colors that you've gone for.
Thank you. Yeah, in my
Perfect.
work, I use a lot of bright, vivid colors. I think it's part of
Mm-hmm.
like my Brazilian heritage. I just really enjoy
Mm.
colorful things. It makes me feel happy and it brings me joy. So I
When I
also
was
do
at
that. Yeah.
This is like an aside, but when I was at art college, there was someone there doing research on how where you were born and where you live impacts the colors you use in your design. And
Ah,
like it was really interesting because it does have like a big impact. But anyway, that's a little
yeah,
little
no,
off
that's
topic
fascinating.
aside. Yeah, it's
I
really
would actually
interesting.
love to read that if
I
you
know,
could send
yeah.
it
I'll see if I can find it.
in. Yeah.
Perfect. So should we jump over what are we going to be working on in Illustrator today?
So today we will be designing some shapes, geometric shapes, and they're going to be kind of inspired by hieroglyphics. So I've
Oh,
recently just had a trip to Egypt and it was super inspiring. There were so many beautiful designs like everywhere. So yeah, I just used it
amazing.
as a source of inspiration.
I've never
Um,
been to Egypt. I'd love to go.
yeah, no, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely amazing. Definitely recommend it. Hold
We've
on
got
a
some
sec.
more people joining us in the chat. Hi to Linda, Mike, Sean. Let us know in the chat if you've ever been to Egypt, because that is the inspiration for our stream today.
Yeah. So here are some images that I took, for example, from my trip. So just some hieroglyphics. If I zoom in a little bit more. They're just so incredibly detailed. And
Mm,
yeah, there's so much of it. They look very complicated, but when you break it down, they're actually quite simple shapes. So using some of the Illustrator tools, we're going to play around with just random shapes and see what kind of interesting things we can come up with, and then create some sort of a branding for a product, an imaginary
nice.
product.
Yeah, sounds good. So
Yes.
where will you start?
So let's begin with using the zigzag tool. So today, yeah, we'll be playing around with the zigzag tool, the bloat tool, and pucker. And I've already set up just a few very basic shapes to start messing around with it. So let's have a control one. So just a regular circle. I'm going to
Hmm.
duplicate this. I'm doing that by holding Option as I click on it. And then when you drag it, you can have perfect copy. So if you go to Object, Distort. Oh, wait. Sometimes I lose it. Wait.
I'm glad it's not just me that loses things.
Yeah, there's just so many options that sometimes it gets
I know.
confusing, and then I just type it in the search bar. Yeah, distort
Yeah.
and transform. Okay, so oh my God, where was it? Effects, that's why. Okay, I was getting
Yeah. There you
it's under effect.
go.
Distort and transform, and then you've got all these different options. So the one we're starting with is zigzag all the way at the bottom. So I'm going to pull up the dialog box. The way that it works is that it'll essentially create a zigzag around the shape that you've selected,
Hmm.
and you can change the size of the zigzag. So you can increment it one by one. So I actually really like just clicking on, like selecting the size here, and then you can either use the arrow keys to go up one by one, which I find is a lot more precise than if you use the mouse to
From the
go like
slider, yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you can also do it by scrolling. So if you highlight it and then you like scroll up or down, it also does that. So I find those are a little bit easier to control exactly what you want to come out of it rather than using
Yeah.
these because they're very, very precise. But yeah, so just from playing around with this, you can see all the different options that we already have. You can have some larger zigzag um, triangle shapes, or the higher you go, the sharper it gets, the longer it gets. You
So many
even start to
different
have,
shapes just within the one tool,
yeah,
isn't there?
exactly. So you start getting these like extra zigzags in between the zigzags. So it's really, yeah, fun to play around with these and select a few different ones, kind of see if there's something that you like, and then just go with it.
Hmm.
So you can choose to change the position by relative or absolute. That one I'm not too sure about, but the one I like to play around with is the ridges as well. So
Oh,
here you
yeah.
can choose the number of zigzags essentially. So yeah, the higher you go, the more you get kind of sun
That's so good.
effects.
Yeah.
And the lower you go, you can even just have like a diamond shape. Then the final kind of function that I like to play around with is between smooth and corner. So the
Mm.
corners give you sharp edges, and the smooth one gives you more organic, wavy
I
edges.
mean, even that just changes it so much, doesn't it? How it looks.
Exactly. So yeah, this is already gonna give me like 20 million options to play with.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
and it's important to have the preview checkbox ticked while you're playing around with this, or else if you don't, then
It's
you
gonna
don't
be a
see any of the
surprise.
changes. Yeah, then you
Yeah.
don't know how it's gonna end up. So let's start with, I kind of liked something like this. It looks a little bit like a wavy sun. Now I'm gonna duplicate it again and just do a few different ones so we can come up with different shapes. So effect, this time I remembered
Yeah.
effect.
By the end of it, you won't forget because you will have done it so many times.
Exactly. So yeah, maybe let's do some sharp corners, maybe a little bit smaller.
So, for anyone just joining in the chat, we're doing some geometric shapes inspired by a recent trip to Egypt. So, sort of hieroglyphics and those sort of shapes. There's lots of people joining. We've got Sandrine, Doris, Sude. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, so sorry if not. Oh, that one's amazing.
It's very detailed.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. And also a little shortcut if you have applied an effect and then you go to apply a different effect, it'll pop up here as a shortcut for
Oh,
the
yeah.
previous effect that you've just used. So you can either use apply zigzag, and this will apply the exact same thing that you did. So if I click this right now, it'll give me the same
Okay.
shape.
Yeah.
Or if I want to play around with it again, I can just click on the zigzag part and I don't have to go through the whole drop down menu.
Yeah. Love all those little tips and shortcuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I kind of like the round ones, the round corners. Maybe let's make them
Yeah.
smaller.
Feel like that links in, like considering that the shapes would have been like carved out of stone, they're probably more sort of like rounded than really perfect corners. So I feel like it works well.
Yeah. No, definitely. And that's something I had thought about as well. That I want to keep this inspired by hieroglyphics, but I still want to make it, as a design, if it works better in a certain way that's a little bit different, then let's go for that.
Mm.
But I don't want it to be too strict, like it has to look exactly like a hieroglyphic. All right, let's do one final one. Maybe just like a little wavy
Oh, yeah.
diamond. Cool. So just from that, we've already got like 6 different shapes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 6 different shapes. And let's just spread them out a little bit so they're not overlapping. So yeah, and that's just after 5 minutes of playing around. I mean, you could come up with millions of combinations, and that was just with a circle. So now we can test out the square. Let's copy some of those. So also to copy a command. So for example, right now I just duplicated this. If you want to duplicate a bunch more, you can just do Command D and it'll redo the last action that you just did. So
Perfect. Always good to learn all the shortcut tips. Save time.
I feel like I really appreciate that when I watch tutorials. It's
I
the
know,
kind of thing
yeah.
that I really enjoy.
Instead of it just happening really quickly and you cut and you miss it, it's nice to have it explained.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a really interesting shape with the square.
Yeah, so the square already gives you totally different effects. And with this one, the higher you go, the more kind of crazy and angular the shapes get and they start overlapping, which I even feel like this could be a background to a poster or a branding design.
Yeah,
and
really.
You just enlarge it and then there you go. You've got something.
What does that one look like if you click on the smooth? I'd be interested to see.
So
that's cool. Yeah, really
it's
nice.
really interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I really like these. So let's start a little bit simple. Maybe just some simpler wavy shapes. Maybe we can create more of them. But I want to, maybe start simple and complicate as we go. So with fewer shapes, you can also get something like that. There's also a lot of the hieroglyphics, they are simple shapes. They're not necessarily very complicated.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Almost looks like an accordion or something. All right, maybe let's go. Yeah, something like that.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah, that was cool.
And I mean, we already have so many. I'm wondering if I even need more square ones.
I know.
Maybe let's leave it at that for now. I think I'm happy with that. Let's move on to the triangle. I'm excited with this one because I feel like you can get some really different effects with it.
Sandrine shared an interesting fact in the chat, which I know that I'm not going to be able to say this word, but apparently it's the 200th century of the this is the bit I can't say. Decipherment of hieroglyphs. Yeah. That's interesting. I did not know that.
Oh wow!
Now that I've managed to say the word, yeah.
Yeah, no, there were so many. Well, okay, that one's a bit too subtle. Maybe let's make it a bit more exciting. Okay. Yeah, it was really fascinating. We visited quite a few temples where we saw ancient hieroglyphics down in a city called Aswan. Yeah, the temples are just gorgeous, and the tour guides would tell us some of the meanings of the stories and the mythology behind it, how like the gods created certain stories in the hieroglyphics that depicted themselves as sort of better than they were, so as if they were gods too.
Yeah,
so it was almost like ancient propaganda on like the walls of temples, because then the population would come and visit and then think that this king of Egypt was
better,
magnificent.
Yeah.
Ooh, sounds kind of cool. Maybe some round ones. Ooh.
It's just, yeah, there's just like like never ending sort of options, isn't there?
Yeah,
That
basically.
one looks really cool.
And that's something that I also really encourage is that just by playing around, you can come up with so many unexpected designs. And it's so important to make enough time, like as a designer or an artist, to give yourself the time to play around because that's how you can
Mm,
come up with amazing things or how you might get some more inspiration. I feel like often when you get given a client brief, it's very straightforward and like you have a deadline, so you spend X amount of time researching and X amount of time actually making the design. But it's so important to experiment.
yeah, that's so true. And it is really hard. I find it really hard to that like I've always got such a long to-do list and so many deadlines. Like it's really hard to make time for it. But I think it is really
Hmm.
important for like our creative processes and just yeah, and just coming up with like to create unique designs that aren't just all really samey. I think you have to have that time to play.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think, I mean, hopefully, I think I see it more and more that clients and like employees, they can start to see the value that
Mm,
art and design really has. But yeah, it needs to be given sort of the respect that it deserves to be able to take your time and like do it properly. Because it's often they
yeah,
just kind of need something done, and as
as
long as it gets
quickly
done,
as
that's all that
possible.
matters. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
sometimes that's just not how the creative process works. To come up with something
Mm.
inspirational, it can happen if you just sit there and do it, but often, yeah, it comes naturally
You need like
through the
space, don't
process.
you need space to sort of just like mull it over in your head or yeah, space to
Exactly.
play when you're not in a rush.
Yeah, space. That's a very important way to put it. So yeah, now we've moved on to the line. So I don't think we have that many more options besides like a wavy or a
Yeah.
curly one. Maybe I'll just make the height of it much higher. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's good. All right, so that is just the zigzag tool. And within 10, 15 minutes, we have like 20 different options to play around with.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Annika's just said
Let's.
that mental health walks away always help. So yeah, like getting that
Mm,
space and time away is so important.
oh, definitely.
So now onto the bloat tool.
Yes. And actually, because you were mentioning before how some of the simpler shapes actually look like hieroglyphics. The reason
Mm.
I chose this font is because I feel like it looks like an actual hieroglyphic, like it's been carved and a little bit
It's got
rough.
like slightly rough edges, hasn't it? It's yeah, really nice.
Yeah. It's actually, oh, sorry, zoomed
Oh
out way
yeah,
too much.
old growth.
Yes, so I have them both here just in case people want to check it out later. So that one is old growth, and it has some really nice like ligatures and special
Mm.
characters. Um, yeah, so since we're going to be doing branding with this, I actually really like that it has the word and as a special
Yes,
character.
that's helpful. And with that, I like that it's got a sort of like fancy ampersand as well.
Yeah, and it's also within a little box.
I know,
So
yeah.
that also
Works
looks like a
well.
hieroglyphic. Like
Yeah.
it really works with the theme. So yeah, I'm gonna see how I can incorporate the word and into it because it wasn't part of the original plan, but it has to be now. Okay, so bloat. Now we go distort and transform, and it's pucker and bloat. So it's actually two tools in one.
Hmm.
It starts off at 0%, which is like right in the middle. And if you go to the left side, it'll pucker. So that means it'll pull all the edges inwards.
Yeah.
And if we go to the right, then it'll blow them outwards.
Mm.
So yeah, as a normal circle, it looks like that. And then if we go up in small increments, you see how
It
it just
starts to
starts
yeah,
like
bloat those
pinching.
bits out.
Yeah. So I'm already going to start with one like that. I think it's nice and quite simple. Um, yeah, you start getting these almost fleur-de-lis
Mm.
shaped symbols.
Yeah, these ones are quite sort of simple flower-like kind of shapes, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, so also this is something that before this tool, I used to just make it myself by hand, like make
Mm,
a oval or make two ovals and duplicate them or join the shape somehow. But it's just so much faster to do something like this when you need
yeah.
like a little kind of diamond-y shape. So this one has the same as the zigzag did, where if you go past a certain point, then it starts creating even more shapes
Yeah.
within it.
Yeah. I like that. That's cool. And there's even sort of like there's less options on this tool, but you still can come up with so many different looking shapes.
Whoa.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I don't know why that one got so big. All right, that's a bit too big. Let's just tone it back a little. Um, yeah, I mean, that's quite similar to the other ones. So maybe, ooh,
Oh, so that's over into onto the pucker side.
yeah. Although for pucker, we were going to do something different. I think it's actually because this already had something applied to it. So let me just
Ah,
cancel.
okay. It's like double
Yeah, I
double
think I
effect.
copied the previous one instead of
Yeah.
a simple circle. So let me just try that again too. Just so we can really show like what you get all the way at the
Mm,
end. Pucker. So yeah,
there we
you would get
go.
something more like that.
Yeah.
It's just a more exaggerated version of that. Okay. Um, let's try a square. This will be quite a easy way to get like slightly rounded
Mm,
square like that. Very
yeah.
simple, but then you don't have to go and curve the edges. It has a little bit of like a detail.
Oh, yeah. It's so nice just having the time to like, yeah, see all the different like versions, the different options.
Yeah. And it quite looks quite like a flower or something.
Mm,
Floral.
like a four-leaf clover or something.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I learned from last time I should copy the square, not the
Oh,
previous
yeah.
shape again. And oh, clicking the wrong one. Yeah.
How long were you in Egypt for when you went on your trip?
A good like 8, 9 days.
Oh, nice. That's a good amount of time to explore.
Yeah. No, it was actually one of my best friend's wedding.
Oh,
So
fun.
that was fascinating. We got to experience a real Egyptian wedding. Although it wasn't very traditional. It was her husband is Egyptian and she's from Venezuela, so they made kind of
Okay.
a union of cultures.
Cultures. Yeah,
Yeah.
really
But the
nice.
whole trip was, yeah, kind of for all of us and like our friends to explore Egypt together. So it was, yeah,
Mm.
once in a lifetime kind of opportunity.
Sean's got a good question in the chat, which is what if you pull the corners in after doing the effect? So maybe we could try that on
Mm.
one of the shapes.
Yeah, definitely. Um,
Maybe on the square it'll work the best.
yeah, I think it would. So actually all of the shapes, once you apply any of these effects, they're still editable.
Hmm.
So like right now you can see the outline of the shape is still the original shape. And that means if you double click it, you can like change it and
Hmm.
adjust it. If you wanted to, you could even like adjust the specific lines, but then you see
Right.
that the effect is still applied to it.
Yeah. So if
Um,
you've got like the little dots in the corners, if you pull those in, what happens? Ah, okay.
mm,
Interesting. That's
okay.
cool.
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, that's like a whole other level of editing it.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's cool.
I like something like this.
Hmm.
Wow.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, that's great.
Good.
Yeah, I thought you meant after expanding it, but
Mm.
that's even better. Yeah.
It's like it just
Ooh,
opens up a whole load of other options.
definitely.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
works well on the triangle.
for sure. Okay, let's see. It's just so interesting how like a software can just create all these random shapes. All right, I think the triangle won't give us much more than that. And let's try the line. Okay,
Oh, so
so
that's it's limited what it can do on the line.
yeah, but I'm thinking, what if we expand the line? So
Mm,
instead of the actual like vector shape, if we expand, then
yeah.
now instead of it being just the central
It's not a
line, it's this
stroke,
whole
it's a
shape.
shape. Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
So it's a shape, but it's a shape that looks like a line. Let's see if it does anything.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's more interesting.
Oof. Let's see. Zooming in a little bit. Yeah, I do
That's
feel like maybe because it's so narrow, it's a bit difficult to see what it's actually doing.
yeah.
So maybe it's not necessarily worth doing it on such a thin shape. But we learned something, so
Yeah, it's always good to try these things out, see what happens.
yeah. All right, let's do pucker as the last one, and then we can start putting everything together.
So we're coming up to about halfway through,
Mhm.
just to give you a time check.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, so these are really great for diamond shapes.
Yeah.
If you need to do a little star or sparkle, you see that a lot in kind of very graphic branding
Yeah.
nowadays. I feel like I see that a lot.
Yeah. And it's just so nice that it's really quick and easy to do. Because like you, I think in the past I would sort of, yeah, have to make those shapes myself using other
Yeah.
methods. So
Ooh.
that's pretty.
Yeah, I like the one where they just meet.
Hmm.
I like that. Let's make it a round number, 55. Cool. Let's try the square. Yeah, so similar as the other one. I guess it's kind of the exact same effect. It's just
Yeah,
rotated.
just yeah.
Okay, let's try one more, but then I don't think it's worth keeping it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar. It's pretty much the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
Slightly different.
Well,
Yeah, that's interesting.
yeah, we can keep that one.
I wonder what happens if you pull in the corners on that one. So the one that you were just
On this
on,
one,
yeah.
yeah. Let's try. Whoa.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, that's
Yes.
interesting.
Let's keep that. Okay, but so good to know that it doesn't make a difference using pucker. If you have a circle or a square, it's going to give you the same effect. But rounding the corners can definitely change the effect. That's cool.
So Sean's got another thing for us to try. He says, what would happen if
Mhm.
you pucker and transform 45 degrees and then reapply? So do the pucker.
On a triangle or on a square?
I think anyone, we could try it on a square.
Yeah. So 45 degrees.
So I think you apply it. I think he's saying that you put the pucker on first.
Oh, and then adjust. Yeah, yeah. Let's do kind of like that.
And
And
then
then just
turn it
one.
45 degrees.
Oh, the whole shape, you mean?
Yeah. And then reapply. I think that's what he means. Who knows? Oh, that's not. Oh, interesting. So that's given us a different.
I mean, it's the same if
It's the same effect, but
it's
just
the
come
same
out
effect.
different. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's just how we had applied the pucker to this one. It was with
Hmm.
longer points.
Yeah.
So the shape looks different, but in essence, it's doing the same thing that curving
Mm.
these edges did as well. But yeah, this one's cool. Like, okay, triangles. like ready to move on to the next part. I'm excited.
Yeah, I know. We've got a good bank of shapes for you to use, definitely.
Oh yeah. And I'm not going to use all of them because that would be way too much. So
Yeah.
oh, that's kind of cool. All right. I'm happy with that. I'm assuming that pucker on a line also won't work.
Yeah, you see, yeah, it worth trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
lengthens it and shortens it, so it would need to be expanded.
Shall we try and expand, I guess?
Yeah, let's give it a go.
Do it. Pucker.
Yeah, I quite like that. It could
Not
work.
bad.
Yeah, work for something.
Yeah, it's kind of like a slightly more detailed
A
line
squished
or a
starburst.
separator.
Yeah.
Yeah, could work for something. Okay, cool. So now we have this huge bank of shapes, geometric shapes. And yeah, I mean, you can essentially create anything you want from these. What we're going to do is start putting them into a design that will end up on an oil bottle. So I chose this as just to have some kind of direction. So I'm not creating something that doesn't really have any direction. So when we were in Egypt, we went to visit a lot of these oil like schools or perfumeries where
Hmm.
they extract the essences of flowers and different things like that to create perfumes. And they call them essences, so they're actually a lot more concentrated and valuable than actual perfumes. So
Okay.
they last a lot longer and they're a lot more natural. So I thought it would be a perfect object or product to create to make like branding for one of these types of oil.
Nice.
So to start with, I actually think I like the idea of doing like one of those rounded kind of cylinders. So if I'm just going to grab one of these as a reference, going to bring it next to me.
You can see quite a lot of the illustrations have a bit of a border, don't they? A bit like in that the ampersand and the and that we were looking at.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll just leave that there for now. So I quite like these kind of roundish shapes. I feel like it's a good container, especially for something like a brand visual or identity. So I'm going to round the edges. And yeah, I don't know if people know, but if you hold down Shift, when you hold this edge out, then you get like a perfect rounded edge.
You can also use that trick that Sean showed us, where you pull in the corners. I think it would give you a similar.
Yeah, actually, you're right. Hold on. But then,
It does
yeah,
it to
but then
all of,
you'd have
yeah.
to stretch it out.
Hmm.
Yeah, perfect. Now that's even easier.
Hmm. I love that there's
Um,
always different ways to do things. Everyone's got their own sort of little tricks.
yeah, no, definitely. So I'm going to bring the color palette over as well. It's funny that I have all these panels here just to have it clearly laid out, but usually this is how I work when I design. I
Yeah,
just bring everything, like duplicate it and bring it exactly to
where you
where
need it.
I'm working so that I don't have to keep scrolling back and forth or zooming in and out.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm
Something
going to
that I've
start.
started doing, which I love, is I don't know if you use libraries, but if I'm working on a project,
Yes.
then I save all the colors into the libraries, and then it just is like I don't have to keep moving it around, which is really nice.
No, that's amazing. I always use libraries. They're so useful. And especially if you're working with multiple designers on
Yeah,
like many clients, it makes a
yeah,
big
so
difference.
good.
So, all right, let's just start grabbing some of our shapes. I'm just gonna pick like random ones that I think are my favorite. So a little sun, maybe that. An interesting triangle. You do see a lot of these like wavy zigzag lines
Yeah,
in the hieroglyphics, so I think that would be useful to bring in. So let's bring it all here.
I'm guessing for the zigzag lines, you might want to expand those ones so you don't like the stroke. Well, if you want to resize them, I guess that might make it easier.
Yeah, definitely. Then maybe one of these. Maybe something a little bit more complicated. Okay, let's start with that.
If anyone's got any
Oh,
questions
wait.
in the chat, feel free to ask away.
Yeah, okay.
I like the color palette that you've gone for.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to keep it kind of desert related.
Mm.
I thought it made sense with like Egypt. So actually for all of these shapes, if we are happy with how they look, then we can already expand them. And then we can start using them as they are. But then they won't be editable anymore. So that's also something
Yeah,
to keep in
to bear
mind.
in
But
mind.
yeah, but since I copied them and we still have the previous original shapes, if I ever need it, I can just go back there.
Yeah,
So go under Object, Expand Appearance, and now you can see that they're all fully
perfect.
outlined. So I guess, let me bring this all the way to the back. And everything goes in front of it. So they use a lot of like vertical rows. So I think I'll just start by making little rows. Maybe it's good to mix up the type of shape so we don't have too many angular ones right next to each other.
Mm. There's something so satisfying about just things organized in rows, isn't there?
Yeah. All right, so I think we're going to be able to fit like one more whole row. So I'm going to go and select a few more shapes. Let's just check this one's quite sharp, so maybe I'll find like one sharp one and two more round ones.
Maybe that second triangle. I feel like that's quite a fun shape.
This one?
On the bloat.
This one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Let's do that. Ooh, and maybe this one that we curve to the edges of.
Mm.
Okay, then I need one more sharp one. So, oh, that's a cool sharp one. Let's go for that. Okay. Let me just zoom in a little bit more. Okay. Now, the last few ones I hadn't expanded yet, so let's do that. I have a shortcut, but sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah, expand appearance. There you go. And to make everything nice and neat, I think I want it all the same size. So first, I'm just going to lock this down so I can easily select all of these. I'm going to align them all to the left, and then we can bring a little ruler out and just make sure that they're all the same width.
Nice. Sean's asked in the chat what everyone thinks you're writing if these were hieroglyphics.
In
secret code
Egyptian.
in the design.
Buy this oil.
Yeah. Or if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for that, Sean. That's reminded me. If you're watching on YouTube, come join us on Behance. You can head to b.net/Adobe Live and you can come and tell us what you think Bruna's writing in the chat.
Come join the chat. Okay. Now the last one. These are all really different shape sizes, so.
Yeah.
But then it almost makes this one too small.
I think you almost have to do these ones by eye, don't you? Like to get the balance right.
So I'm just going to start off with that, and then I'm going to remove the ruler. So finicky. There we go. Yeah, let's get rid of this ruler. Also align these, maybe centered. Align these centered. These and these. So yeah, like this one looks a bit too big. This one could be larger.
Yeah, I feel like you always need to squint at the. I'm just here squinting at the screen.
Does it feel right?
Joined. I'm like face scrunched up, trying to see.
Right, I think I'm kind of happy with that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I feel like maybe the bottom right one, because it's got all the spikes, maybe needs it to be a tiny bit bigger. But I think it's looking good, really nice and balanced.
This one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
bit more.
Just perfect.
Cool.
I think that looks great.
I want to add these lines. The wavy lines, I think, will work really nicely. So yeah, I mean, in the hieroglyph, like if we keep looking back to the hieroglyphics, they do have sometimes just random shapes or lines in between. So I think maybe, I don't know, maybe we could put like, move everything up a little.
Nice.
Maybe put it underneath so it's not like right next to that one. Oh, wrong one. Yes, this one. Yeah. And I kind of also want to add some lines in between. So to show the kind of separations that they have in these vertical columns, I think it looks kind of cool. So once again, with strokes, I also used to just go like up one by one or type in a certain stroke or even pull this down. But I feel like it's so much easier visually to just press the up key.
Yeah.
And you can see it visually. If you want to be very precise, then using the up and down arrow keys or scrolling with the mouse, because then you can really quickly look at the difference between like a much larger size or a much smaller size. And then for this, yeah, exactly. So let's make this, I think it's okay like this because it's kind of similar to the thickness of that little one. But I want the edges to be rounded. So I'll open up the stroke panel and make the cap round.
Nice.
And then I think we can duplicate that.
Have you got a name for your oil brand?
So there was this really funny scent that the tour guide kind of told us. It's called The Secrets of the Desert.
Oh.
And apparently it's a combination of different scents that's like an aphrodisiac.
Okay.
So he said that everyone in the room should be careful because the women are going to start jumping the men that are putting on the Secrets of the Desert smell. So I feel like that's a perfect tribute. So yeah, so I chose these two different typefaces. The first one, I thought it's quite interesting and different and somehow reminds me of hieroglyphics. I don't know how. Maybe it's like the kind of mixture of sharp edges and like rounded things.
Yeah, those R's and B's are really interesting, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be our title. And then I chose this one for the rest of the text because I feel like it'll be more readable, especially if it's like smaller information. So let's go ahead and call this Secrets of the Desert.
Oh, you're in good company here. Whenever I do a live, I always type it wrong first time. It's so hard to type.
Yeah, it's fine. It happens. And I'm like very anal about those things. I hate making typos, so I always correct them before I send even like text
Mm.
to my friends. But yeah, I had to give up eventually because
What was the name
no
of
one's
Annika's
perfect.
asking what the name of this font was? Is it was it Mazar was it? Oh, Marvio.
Marvio. Yes.
Marvio. Perfect. And Jasara thinks that the lines could be a little bit thinner in between the shapes.
These.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's see what it looks like. Let's do it.
Maybe just like 1 point.
How about
Yeah.
that?
Nice.
All right. Secrets of the Desert. Let's center that. And I think I'll make it either the same color or maybe it would be nice to mix in some red.
Mm.
So I think I would actually like if some of these are randomly red as well, just
Yeah,
to
nice.
keep it interesting. Maybe
I love how this is coming
these.
together.
Yeah. And so, I mean, like I mentioned, it's hieroglyphic inspired, but by
Yeah.
no means trying to like imitate them. It's just
Yeah.
taking inspiration from something and making something completely different from it.
Mm.
So I think maybe I want to make my background shape a little bit bigger because I
Yeah,
think
so you've
we're
got
running out of
space.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do that.
We've got
And
about 15 minutes left.
okay. Then I think we're just going to stick with the branding itself. We're not going to end up doing a mock-up because there's no time for that. I think I quite like it on the bottom actually. So let's go here. I think the word secret should be a little bit bigger.
Nice, yeah.
And the height spacing between the two lines is quite high. So let's put them closer together. Cool. And I think although the original shape from the hieroglyphics is like this whole circular tube, I think I kind of want the bottom ones to be straight. So it's more of like an archway.
Okay.
I'm going to remove the curve on the bottom. Yeah, because then I feel like there's a bit more space. It just fits better for the text on the bottom, I feel.
Yeah. And so would this be like your product label, that kind of thing?
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Nice.
And I mean, in terms of branding, like this could be used in a multitude of different ways. Like you could use some of these shapes in backgrounds of designs, maybe in the packaging, like they could be larger or patterned in like a totally different color.
Yeah. I mean, it would give you so many options and flexibility, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Or like even overlaid on like photography, like if you wanted to weave them through so everything's really consistent.
Yeah. So I think it's also good to have a lot of options when you first start with brand designing because you need like many different visuals to be able to see how you can put them together in different ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we're just gonna make it a little bit bigger. Cool. So I think this might be a good basic label. I can't believe I'm calling it Secrets of the Desert. It was just such a funny moment.
Sean thinks it should say Secrets of the Dessert.
So I actually accidentally typed in dessert when I was mocking this up in the first place. But
Yeah.
then thankfully I corrected it before the live stream. But
that is a common mistake for me to make.
yeah, I've been told to remember which one would you like more, and that's the one that has more S's.
More S's.
So you would prefer to eat a dessert rather than to be in a desert. So
interesting. That's a good tip.
yeah. I do also think it would be nice to have maybe like an outline. So I'm just going to duplicate the shape that I just had, make it a bit larger, send it to the back, and then copy this styling. So it's like a little frame.
Nice. Oliver's chatting about Dessert. I'm gonna get myself all mixed up. Yeah, you can eat your dessert in the desert.
Yeah, you could definitely do that.
I really like the border. I think that works really well.
Yeah. So I think we're kind of good with what we've got at the moment.
Mhm.
Obviously, if I have more time, then I would play around a lot more.
Mm.
But this could be, yeah, kind of standard, like brand artwork. Maybe as a logo, you could have just like one of these small shapes next to secrets. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we mentioned for packaging, it could be tiled in the background or something. So there's many different things you could do with it. And this
Hmm.
is just experimenting with two different tools,
Yeah.
a bunch of different shapes, and you get so many different possibilities.
Yeah, and like you said, you can really see how that could then be applied throughout the branding, which is really, really fun.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's any other final questions, but if
J-
not, I can also do one or
I
two
mean, we've
things.
got 10 minutes left if you want to try the mock-up. I don't know if that gives us enough time. Jane says this looks
Yeah.
very elegant and evocative of Eastern things. So yeah, I think you've
Ah,
achieved what you were trying to.
nice. Thank
I
you.
think it does look
Um,
really elegant.
yeah, I think it's the arch somehow.
Mm.
I realized we didn't use the other text, but I think because this seems more of like a label logo of some sort.
Yeah, I feel like that's what you'd have sort of on the with all the information on the back, isn't it? Or the little,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, or maybe that could be like on the box, and maybe there could be
Hmm.
different archways with different words inside it. Um, but yeah, maybe it would be good to add like a little bit of extra text.
Yeah.
So like these were random words that I had separated before, but so maybe let's say like made in Swan, Egypt, and it's a natural oil extract. Oh, we wanted to use the word and.
Oh yeah, you got to get your hand in there.
Damn it. Okay, let's see. And
I think something that would be quite fun as well is if you say you'd have like a brand with different oils. There's like so many variations of this label that you could do using the different symbols and different colors. It'd be a really nice
yeah.
way to like have them all looking really cohesive, but each label having its sort of own.
Oh
Oh,
wow, I'm trying to write.
Sandrine's. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, it's fine. I'm trying to write orchid, but it's coming out really funnily
Oh,
in
with all
the.
the yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, because it's on caps. That's why. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
Yes. You were saying.
Sandrine says that the wavy lines are actually real hieroglyphs. So
Are they?
that's
That's why you see
yeah,
them everywhere. Yeah, I
yeah.
thought so.
I'm gonna go and do some
Nice.
research after this and see what they all mean.
Yeah, definitely. Here, let's see if we can find a wavy line around here
Mm.
somewhere.
Oh, look,
Here,
there's
there's
one.
one.
Yeah, I'm pointing at my screen, not that anyone else can see that.
Where is it? Let's find it. Let's find it.
Sort of down a bit. If you go down that, yeah, like there we go.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah, zigzag. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of these that look like feathers or something.
Yeah.
Birds, and then these that look like a key. Apparently, it's something to do with like life, like
Okay.
a symbol of life and living.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just put this in yellow, maybe make it a little bit smaller. And I think we're gonna just have to move everything up to fit. Yeah. And then maybe add another line to separate it. And let's be neat because I haven't been very neat this entire live stream, but let's make the spacing even. Okay.
Nice.
Well, we got the and in there.
Yeah, well done. That's good. I love it when you find like little treats like that in the glyphs.
Yeah, and it's quite rare. I think there's a lot of like there's not very many fonts that offer that. So
Mm,
like usually I'll just be making those by hand, like expanding a font and then playing around with it and
yeah,
making little swirls and things like that. So it's actually really useful when a font already has that built in. It
yeah,
saves you a lot of time to
yeah,
design them. So yeah, just thought something like that might be cute to kind of
yeah.
hold it all together. Maybe I'll make it more centered height-wise. Yeah. All right.
Great. Looks really good.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us and for yeah, showing us what amazing designs you can create with those sort of simple Illustrator tools.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks everyone who's joined us in the chat. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got Harriet Noble and Maddie, and they are going to be looking at paper-like digital illustration using Photoshop, which sounds really fun. And then on Wednesday, it's going to be Tina Tooley and Tony, lots of T's there, and they're going to be looking at blending analog and digital techniques. So that'll be really interesting. So yeah, come back and join us on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I hope you have a really great rest of your Monday. Thanks so much, Bruna.
Thank you, Liz, and thanks everybody who tuned in. Bye.